Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome. It's Eric Erickson here across the United States of America. It's an open line Friday, the last one before the election. The phone number is 877-973-7425. If you want to be on the program, if you text Eric, E-R-I-C-K, to 33777, I'll be sending you email updates through the weekend if you're subscribed to the show notes email. You can get the podcast, the live stream, everything you need. Okay, we got to start with the big story. There are actually two competing big stories today. The one is Donald Trump's comments about Liz Cheney, where many members of the press are mischaracterizing it to suggest he wants Liz Cheney before a firing squad. What Donald Trump was actually saying was that Liz Cheney should be put on the front lines in a war, that she's a chicken hawk, he said, or a war hawk. And they have a way of changing their mind if they were confronted with being on the front lines. Of course, the media willfully mischaracterizing that, and the media is overplaying that. I'll play you his remark. This was Donald Trump.
But his daughter's a very dumb individual, very dumb. She's a radical war hawk. Let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her, okay? Let's see how she feels about it. You know, when the guns are trained on her face. You know, they're all war hawks when they're sitting in Washington in a nice building saying, oh, gee, let's send 10,000 troops right into the mouth of the enemy.
Very clearly talking about putting Cheney on the front lines instead of our sons and daughters and watching her change her tune on war. Of course, Liz Cheney characterized this as a firing squad. Members of the press characterizing it a firing squad. The very same members of the press who were willing to imply an apostrophe in Joe Biden's statement from Tuesday are out to get Donald Trump on this. Meanwhile, the big headline that Americans are waking up to today, this is from Fox Business.
Private sector jobs, negative 28,000. Negative. Okay, we were looking for 90,000 added, negative 28,000 on private. Factory jobs, a loss of 46,000 jobs. Government jobs, we added 40,000 government jobs.
That's Fox Business. This is CNN.
It's a massive drop, of course, from what we saw in September. That number was also revised lower, down to 223,000 jobs. In fact, what we lost was over 110,000 jobs over August and September. So
that's CNN. This is CNBC.
It is time for the October jobs report. Rick Santelli has that number, or he will in about a second. Hey, Rick.
Yes. The big jobs report, and the prophecy came true. Jobs light, 12,000 in non-farm payroll. That is the lightest going back to December of 2020, and partially explained, of course, by storms, hurricanes, and strikes, but there's more nuance to come. If you look at what the unemployment rate is, that remained at 4.1. So people are going to scratch their heads. Hey, lousy jobs report, why 4.1? Because the rate comes from the household survey, and the household survey counts those that are off work, absent due to strikes and storms. So they're counted as employed. It remains at 4.1%.
So people who aren't working are counted as employed right now, even though they're not employed due to hurricane strikes and other factors. The total growth in jobs was 12,000. They were looking for 100,000. The 12,000 comes because the government gained jobs. The private sector lost jobs, and the government gained jobs. Not an encouraging look here the last Friday before the election with the economy. Not only that, the August and the September jobs numbers were revised down. That's right. They were revised down. We were told they were good, solid numbers. They were revised down. And now this one, without the revision, this one is only 12,000 jobs here at the end. So the media will play up Donald Trump's remarks suggesting he wants to put Liz Cheney before a firing squad. and we'll downplay the jobs numbers. They covered for Joe Biden, claiming he did not call Trump supporters garbage when he did. And now, by the way, there's another story related to that. The stenographers are now at war. Here is Peter Ducey on Fox News.
Morning, and we have a story about White House stenographers. First time this whole cycle. The White House stenographers come with the House. They are not political. Some of them have been there since Trump and will be there after Biden. And they are now as mad as you will ever hear a stenographer on the record that White House officials working for President Biden tried to change the meaning of their transcript. So it sounded like the president on that Zoom with Voto Latino was just criticizing a comedian instead of all Trump supporters. So now we've got a supervisor from the stenographer's office who is saying, our stenography office transcript released to our distro, which includes the National Archives, is now different than the version edited and released to the public by press office staff. And Amy Sands, the director of that department, continued, please avoid sharing rush drafts and excerpts, which are subject to review and might create confusion among staff, media, and the public, while our stenography office completes a thorough review process. The White House is not explaining what exactly happened here, just to say the president confirmed in his tweet on Tuesday evening that he was addressing the hateful rhetoric from the comedian at Trump's Madison Square Garden rally. That was reflected in the transcript, and they're getting some help keeping MSG top of mind from J-Lo.
At Madison Square Garden, he reminded us who he really is and how he really feels. It wasn't just Puerto Ricans that were offended that day, okay?
And there you go. So we got a battle over the stenographer and what he actually said. We have a battle over the jobs numbers. Now we have a battle over Donald Trump. I do have to say, did y'all see that Jets game last night? Not to rub salt in the wounds of the Jets fans out there, but the one of the Jets players was making a touchdown and dropped the ball right as he was crossing into the end zone, and it was not a touchdown after all. Donald Trump on stage with Tucker Carlson. If this race is so close, y'all. As I have said all week long, every misstep, every mistake, every foible, every faux pas matters. Starting the week with Madison Square Garden and Tony Hinchcliffe. Then Joe Biden's comments. Poor old Kamala Harris. You know, Kamala Harris gave a closing address to the nation on Tuesday night, and no one's even talking about it. Kamala Harris had a bad week. She was given the perfect opportunity by Donald Trump and his team with the Madison Square Garden rally. And here at the end of the week, she's hoping to pick it back up with Liz Cheney. But it's also in competition with the jobs numbers of the Biden-Harris economy. And Joe Biden's garbage comments. And Donald Trump getting in a garbage truck. It's a very close, tight race at the end. Donald Trump's closing argument at this point seems to be too much high on his own supply here the Friday before the election. Fan service, not persuading people. But Kamala Harris at the same time isn't doing herself any favors. It's like both sides here at the end are exhausted, getting off message, being distracted by other things, distracting themselves. But I don't know that the momentum has strongly shifted. Marist has come out with polling showing Kamala Harris swinging into the lead in the Great Lakes states. If Marist is right, Kamala Harris wins. Here's what you got to understand in these state-level polls. The average polling error is about 3.4% at a state-level poll, meaning if Trump is up 1, he could actually be up 4.3%. If Trump is up 1, Kamala Harris could actually be up 2.3%. We don't really know yet. What we know is that it's very close. And again, every mistake matters. Donald Trump shouldn't have said what he said about Liz Cheney last night. It provided the perfect opportunity for the media to grab hold of it in the same way Tony Hinchcliffe But, Joe Biden can still say something. Kamala Harris can still say something. Things can still change. Today is the last day of early voting for a lot of states. Some will continue over the weekend. They're all kind of wound down on Monday. And then on Tuesday is the big day. What I can tell you from the early voting is Donald Trump won the Election Day vote in Pennsylvania by 30%. Based on the pattern, and again, we don't know who people are voting for, but if you assume partisan turnout equates to a partisan vote, if Trump wins by 10 to 15% on Election Day in Pennsylvania, he's probably won Pennsylvania. But we don't know. Meanwhile, while you've got Donald Trump out there saying this stuff about Liz Cheney, you've got Mark Cuban out there on The View suggesting that Donald Trump doesn't have any smart women around him, that conservative women are stupid.
Donald Trump, you never see him around strong, intelligent women, ever. It's just that simple.
From his private jet, no less, Mark Cuban gives us the statement that Donald Trump doesn't surround himself with smart women. Really? Really? Dr. Victoria Coates, the National Security, Miriam Adelson, the billionaire, Susie Wiles, the campaign strategist, Kellyanne Conway, the pollster. He put Amy Coney Barrett on the Supreme Court. Saying conservative, and that's essentially what he's implying, conservative women are stupid. Both sides seem to be alienating every potential voter. Both sides do. I'm ready for this to be over. I suspect you're ready for this to be over. It will be over in a few days. I don't actually believe that it's going to take us weeks to find out who won this race. Some states are going to be difficult. Wisconsin's going to be difficult. But I don't really think that we're going to be waiting 2 weeks. I'm willing to be wrong on this. I hope I'm not. But I'm kind of ready for it to be done. And I kind of think that the closing arguments are going to be overshadowed by a jobs number that is absolutely not good. The jobs number is just not good. 12,000 private sector jobs, and they're actually not really even private sector jobs. They're jobs caused by government. And that's a reflection on Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. But here's the thing. Donald Trump needs to focus on this for the next couple of days. Leave Liz Cheney alone. Focus on the jobs and focus on the American Orthodox Jew in Chicago who was shot by a Muslim illegal alien. Focus on those things. Barnstorm the country and win. What's notable is that Donald Trump is doing more events daily than Kamala Harris, and he's going to more states daily. Kamala Harris is just in Wisconsin tonight. Donald Trump is in Michigan and Wisconsin. Yesterday, Kamala Harris was in Arizona and Nevada. Donald Trump was in Arizona, Nevada, New Mexico. And that's the thing that is raising my spidey sense at the end. The Republicans are putting money into states that shouldn't be in play, and Kamala Harris is taking money out of states that should be in play. And that's kind of my red flag moment here at the end of the race of where the trajectory probably is. It means the Republicans are going to take the Senate. And Donald Trump, the momentum is still headed in his direction. But God bless him, he needs to not do fan service the next 3 days and just make a persuadable case to undecided voters, of which there are still many. Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here. The phone number is 877-973-7425. It's an open line Friday if you want to be on the program. Also, please text ARMY, A-R-M-Y, to 33777 and get in our system so we know you're out there where you are. We will help you get active in the next legislative cycle. And when we come see you in your area, go to your affiliates. We want to be able to shoot you an email and let you know. I gotta confess something to you. I hurt. So about a month and a half ago, I had to get braces. And on Wednesday, they added brackets to my upper back molars. And I cannot speak without them tearing into my gums. And the wax, everybody's so used to the wax is not helping. And so as I am talking to you on the program today, as yesterday, I am just, my gums are getting cut. All I can do is taste blood. It is excruciating. I feel like, and I feel mushy in how I speak because I can only open my mouth so far before these damn things dig into my gums. I am not enjoying this, and I got half a mind to get on Amazon and overnight one of those orthodontic pliers and rip these things out. I am sorely tempted to show up this afternoon at their office and say, take them out. This is deeply uncomfortable stuff. And I realize, like, kids go through this, but kids' mouths are softer and more malleable than someone who's in their 40s. And this is deeply uncomfortable. I hadn't been able to eat anything decent since Wednesday. So I'm hungry, so I'm already in a bad mood. And now every time I talk to you, I taste blood because these things are cutting into my mouth. I think I'm ready for these things to be done. I was a good sport for the first month or so, and they put these in right before this election, and I'm in a foul mood today. So you need to be warned already. I'm in a bad mood. I'm bleeding when I talk. My mouth hurts. I can't eat. I didn't have lunch today. Haven't had breakfast. I don't want to eat because it just makes it worse. So full disclosure, if I light you on fire when you call in today, it's just I'm hangry and I'm hurting. There you go. I'm really, really angry about this. We got to move on. We got much more to talk about. First, I got to tell you about Hillsdale College. If you go to ericforhillsdale.com today, you can get the free Pocket Constitution Declaration of Independence. You can get Imprimus. You can get the podcast network for free from Hillsdale College. You can get Dr. Larry Arnn's Conversations of the Constitution. You can get. You can also get. You can get. I'm sorry, just got distracted by a text. You can get Victor Davis Hanson's lectures on citizenship. All you got to do is go to ericforhillsdale.com. ERICK, ericforhillsdale.com. If you go to ericforhillsdale.com today, you can get the Pocket Constitution free. Get Imprimus, though. I've made it through. I've read my full copy of Imprimus. It comes to you free. I've been getting it since law school. ericforhillsdale.com. Go check them out today. Also, on your podcast app, you can get their podcast completely for free. ericforhillsdale.com. But get the Pocket Constitution. It's great. And then start a relationship with Hillsdale College. You can get their classical education guides. You can get their Constitution series, so much more. And you don't pay a penny. It's ericforhillsdale.com. ERICK, ericforhillsdale.com. Hello there. It is Eric Erickson. Welcome. It's an open line Friday. The phone number is 877-973-7425. If you would like to be on the program, I would be very happy to have you, particularly if you're focused on the election. Last Friday before the election. It's almost over. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to do this. Okay, hear me out. And I can be wrong. I'm willing to acknowledge that maybe I'm in my own bubble, maybe I'm seeing things, but just hear me out on this. In 68 of the last 69 Senate election cycles, in a presidential election year, whichever way that state went for president, it also went for the Senate. So in 2016, 2020, got 69 elections. The only deviation was in 2020, Trump lost Maine and Susan Collins won. There's a story, the Cook Political Index. It's behind a paywall. I paid for it, so you don't have to. If Republicans sweep blue wall states, which have all tightened to the final weeks, they could get 54 or 55 Senate seats, a cushion for a tougher 2026 midterm cycle. However, if they only attain a narrow 51 or 52 seat majority, look for the moderates like Murkowski and Susan Collins to wield outsized influence in Congress. Democrats believe even if Vice President Kamala Harris narrowly loses in key swing states, their battle-tested members will still be well-positioned to outrun her showing and hold on. If Republicans cruise to victory, they will not only have been aided by a map that ran through deep red and swing states, but their party's advantage on the economy and immigration, and a strong night for former President Donald Trump. They've also doubled down on their anti-transgender messaging and believe the culture wars work in their favor when it comes to women's sports. According to data from Ad Impact, in the final 2 weeks, Republicans have outspent Democrats in Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, and have been at near parity in Nevada by gross ratings points. The two sides are tied in Michigan and much closer in Pennsylvania. In our final Senate outlook, we're not making any ratings shift. Our projection is Republicans are most likely to pick up between 2 and 5 Senate seats, which would give them a majority between 51 and 54 seats. Now, follow along with me here, please. I still don't think Kari Lake wins in Arizona, but the last 2 polls out of Arizona show her now ahead. And the polling averages in Arizona have shifted in Kari Lake's direction. The Democrats are now putting money into Virginia. The polling average in Arizona last week had Ruben Galeo 6 points ahead. It's now got him ahead by 3 points. In Wisconsin, just last week, you had Tammy Baldwin up by 2.8 points. She's now only up by 1. In Ohio, Sherrod Brown is only up by 1 now. Everything just seems closer than it should be. And the trend lines are for the Republicans. This is Donald Trump's last election. He has alienated single women, as has the GOP on the abortion issue. Single women, apparently their only issue is whether or not they can kill kids that they don't have and don't want. I'm just flummoxed by it. It is such an overriding issue for single women. You know, married women, interestingly enough, the data is coming out that there is no marriage divide here. Married women and married men are both voting for Donald Trump. It's the single women that's the issue. But Donald Trump is also penetrating non-white men. In Pennsylvania, in Wisconsin, in Michigan, although the non-white numbers are small, Donald Trump is making inroads measurable in polling. In the Sun Belt states, he's making inroads. Donald Trump went to New Mexico. New Mexico is not a state Donald Trump is going to win or shouldn't win. What is his campaign seeing that has him in New Mexico? What is Kamala Harris seeing that has her team spending money in Virginia? Following the money doesn't seem to look like a Kamala Harris win. What I know is that the race is remarkably close. Like, for example, Donald Trump is going to be in my town, Macon, Georgia, on Sunday. He's going to do a rally on Sunday in Middle Georgia. Donald Trump should not still need to be campaigning in Georgia, but he is. Kamala Harris is done with North Carolina. She shouldn't be. There's something that they're seeing internally, both campaigns, that has Harris nervous about Virginia, Trump more nervous than he should be about Georgia, and Trump optimistic about New Mexico, and Harris nervous about Pennsylvania still. None of that points to a Democratic victory. When you take into account a jobs report that only 12,000 jobs were created, y'all, I don't see this personally being as tight as I keep telling you it is because of how they're spending money. It makes it look like the internal polling suggests Trump's doing better than he actually is. But if the public polling deviations are wrong, Kamala Harris could sweep all 7 states. If the public polling deviations are wrong, Donald Trump could sweep all 7 states. It really is that close. But I'm going to go there. Call it irrational exuberance, whatever you want to call it. When I see Kamala Harris pulling money out of North Carolina and putting it into Virginia, that looks like the Democrats are worried. When I see Donald Trump going to New Mexico and Republicans now putting money in New Mexico, maybe it's irrational exuberance on their part, but it looks like they're seeing something. When Nevada is as close as it is in early voting between the parties, and the Senate Republicans have decided to devote more money here at the end to Sam Brown, that's going to be tied to the presidential race, and that matters. The flow of money, the direction of the Senate races, it all points towards the GOP. The fact that there are less conversations now about the House Democrats taking the House points to the GOP. It can all go upside down on Tuesday. Now, listen, the people who are already saying the only way the Democrats win is if it was stolen, they're not smart people. They're not smart people. And I know some of them are listening right now. And they're going to call my call screener, yell at my call screener, but I need you to know you're not a smart person. If you're already dug in your heels that the only way the Democrats win is it's stolen, you're an irrational cultist. They can very well win. It's a very tied race. But I do feel like the money. And I do feel like where the candidates are and how much time they're putting on the ground does suggest a trend in favor of Donald Trump. Here at the end, the last Friday before the election, the data does point towards Trump. All that can change. It depends on Election Day turnout now. It depends on what he says at the very end. What is his closing argument? If his closing argument is Liz Cheney needs to be put on the front lines of war, he's losing it. If his closing argument is jobs, the economy, immigration, crime, he's winning. This entire week, Kamala Harris has been overshadowed by everything else. The question is, how much overshadowing does Trump do that helps him or hurts him? And right now, the data and the trend lines and the flow of this race suggest the GOP should have a good night on election night. It can absolutely change. That's how close it is. But that's where I think we're winding up. Now, let me take a couple of phone calls here. Open line Friday, 877-973-7425. Chris, welcome to the show. How are you?
Doing fine, Mr. Erickson. I want to say thank you for having me on your show. And I just want to say that I was listening to you and I was deciding that I was going to stay out. I was not going to vote. I was just tired of all this mess. Like you said, I wanted to send a message. But you know what changed my mind? When you've got Vice President Harris coming to Atlanta, I live in Gwinnett County, Georgia, and to get my attention, she has a hip-hop star twerking. Then you have former President Obama telling me that I am not a genuine black man if I do not vote for a strong black woman. And last time I checked, she's not black. She's an Indian American, and I have no problem with that. But I feel that I'm a 68-year-old black American, and I'm a Marine Corps vet. You're not going to tell me that I'm not black if I don't vote for your candidate. And the Democrats have done that also. So with what the Biden said one time, if I didn't vote Democrat, I was not black. I voted for Trump before. Just like you have said it also, sir, because his personality gets in the way sometimes. But I vote on issues. If they would stop making these campaign events, entertainment venues with comedians and rappers and directors and actors, start concentrating on the issues, they would get our attention more instead of pandering to the least common denominator. Because the last time I checked, Aaron, my first name isn't Morgan, but as far as I'm concerned, I am a free man. I'm a free man, and I'm going to vote my conscience, and I did last Saturday.
Good for you. Good for you, Chris. Thanks for calling in. And yeah, look, you all get out there and vote. You have an impact when you vote. And I got to tell you, I still think that Democrats don't appreciate the lecturing tone that they've applied towards younger black men, trying to tell them they must vote and they must vote for Kamala Harris. I just don't think that goes over well. Ed, you're going to be up next. Welcome to the show.
You talking to me?
Yes, I am. Ed, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How about yourself?
Great.
So you just want me to just kind of like stand by? Is that the big picture?
Nope, Ed, you are live on national radio.
Oh, my goodness. Well, congrats. I guess I'm okay. My question is this, and it really comes from listening to the rhetoric from both sides and really kind of concluding that they really both have sort of fascist tendencies when you get right down to it. And our only real breakwater is the Senate. And so what I wanted to ask Eric is, what are your thoughts on what the Senate will do and can do to win back control of the executive?
Oh, that's such a great question, Ed. I'm glad you actually asked the question. I think the United States Senate and the House of Representatives, for that matter, need to claw their power back, regardless of who the president is. Claw the power back from them, because the presidency has gotten too powerful. We need a Congress that actually legislates instead of just shows up and goes on TV. We need a Congress that insists that it is the primary branch. We talk about three co-equal branches of government. It's not really true. The reason the legislative branch is first is because the founders wanted to highlight that it is the most powerful branch, and it needs to start acting like it again. And the Senate can do that because since senators serve 6-year terms, only a third of them are really beholden to an incumbent president of the same party, and that allows the Senate itself to stretch its legs and claw back power from the president. I hope they do. Now, I need to tell you about Americans for Prosperity. AFP is barnstorming this country, knocking on doors, getting people out to vote. They would love to have your support. If you go to americansforprosperity.org/volunteer, americansforprosperity.org/volunteer, Americans for Prosperity can train you to be a great, effective conservative activist. Not only that, they can give you all the information you need to make an articulate case for advancing common sense conservative reforms in this country, from securing the border to school choice to fighting for families. All you have to do is go to americansforprosperity.org/volunteer today. Sign up with AFP. They've got chapters in almost every state. They would love to have you involved with them. They're a great organization. americansforprosperity.org/volunteer. I'm doing an event for them in Salt Lake City in December. It's going to be cold. I'm going to enjoy it. They're a great group. I love to stand with AFP. They would love to have you stand with them. Go to americansforprosperity.org/volunteer today. This hour of the program brought to you by First Liberty Building and Loan. If you are in the business of business and want to grow your business, all you got to do is go to firstlibertyga.com and see if they can help you. firstlibertyga.com. We've got the final schedule of Donald Trump barnstorming the nation. On Saturday, he's now, hang on a second, I gotta pull up a map here. I'm looking here. Be patient with me. We gotta go to Salem. What the heck is that? That's what I was waiting for. That's why I wasn't saying anything when we came back. I was waiting for that audio, and it never came. And I was like, am I crazy? What's going on? We're having the computer gremlins are back. Okay, so here's the thing. So Trump on Saturday will be in Charlotte, North Carolina, Salem, Virginia, and Greensboro, North Carolina. Where is Greensboro, North Carolina? Let's see this. So Salem, Virginia is outside Roanoke. Greensboro... It's got to be Greensboro, shouldn't it? There's no such thing as Greensboro. Yeah. This list says it's got to be Greensboro, North Carolina. And then on Sunday, he's going to be in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. He's going to be in Kingston, North Carolina. Then he's going to be in Macon, Georgia. On Monday, he's going to be in Raleigh, North Carolina, Reading, Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh, and Grand Rapids, Michigan. Notice he's not going to Wisconsin in these events. He's going to round out in Michigan on the Grand Rapids, Michigan. So he's going to do several in North Carolina. Oddly doing that one in Salem, and I guess part of it is the you can get some of the North Carolina, but that's kind of an odd thing. You're doing Greensboro a couple times. You're doing Charlotte. The man is all over the place. He's only doing one closeout event in Georgia. He's not doing Arizona or Nevada. He doesn't need to do Arizona. They've got Arizona 1. Nevada is kind of a wild card, but play in North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and then rounding out in Michigan. That's a pretty big deal, and he's going to be focused on Western Pennsylvania in particular as well. So there you have it. Donald Trump barnstorming the nation. The final 3 days of the campaign trail. Lots of Pennsylvania, lots of North Carolina. 1 Georgia, 1 Michigan. No Wisconsin, no Nevada, no Arizona. He doesn't need to do Arizona. And honestly, at this point, Nevada is baked in with an early vote. They feel pretty confident. They weren't confident about Nevada, and suddenly they're liking what they're seeing in Nevada. They got to boost Election Day turnout in Pennsylvania, though. They got to boost Election Day turnout. When we come back, we're going to shift gears to this shooting in Chicago that has not made a lot of headlines. The data on it is pretty disturbing, and I'll take your phone calls. Open line Friday, 877-973-7425.